Welcome to the ClassCast podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Tibbens. We're presented by Read.Think.Write.Speak.com because no one else should do it for you. Please enjoy the following discussions about life, education, philosophy, and more. Welcome to the first full episode of the ClassCast podcast. Today I'm going to be talking with Eric Hernandez, the owner and operator of Knockout Fitness LLC, professional boxer, family man, and one of my all-time favorite students. Eric and I hadn't seen each other for a long time, so we were already catching up a little bit when I decided it was time to roll the tape. Please enjoy this conversation. We're starting partway in. In your training, go ahead, plug the business.
Business, Knockout Fitness LLC.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, sir.
In doing that, you know, the videos, by the way, the videos on Instagram and Facebook, like, awesome. That's one thing my wife running her dance company, Tiny Toes Dance LLC.
Okay.
But I've shown her some of that and like she loves it. Like she's actually trying to do more of that for her thing. But you do a lot of group stuff. At least that's what you post a lot of videos of.
Yeah, a lot of group training, yeah.
And you got men and women together. Like, how do you approach that? Not even specifically just the men and women difference. Like, how is that working in a group? Because you've got people who are boxers who have fought professionally, working alongside a guy who's, 30 pounds ahead of me, but just so you got one guy's trimming weight, and you've got guys who are, essentially world-class athletes. Like, how do you do that in a group?
Well, in the group training, it's everybody's on their own pace. So a lot of it will be like when we do a lot of strength work. Yeah. I'll tell them, okay, bicep curls or whatever the exercises may be. Right. I'll give them the set amount, but everybody's on their own pace. So, if you start getting tired, go get some water. Hey, if you need to step out, step out. I don't give out the breaks. I don't tell them, hey, guys,
that's nice. That's nice of you. I used to, what? I'm going to give you a line that I used to use when coach. I even used this in golf. When I coached varsity golf for a while at Stonebridge. And even in golf, I use this line. It's, I need some water. Winners don't need water and losers don't deserve it. Unless you can see oh, you're really you need to go get a drink. Like you're getting red. Like
Hey,
but so you let everybody sort of set their own
pace. But it's crazy because when you put a group together and a lot of my group training, like at night, I do have pro boxers in there, former pro boxers, and former amateur fighters, and people that are in shape, and some people that aren't really in shape. But it's crazy because the energy is real. So everybody tries to keep up with each other. I tell them focus on yourself, slow down, watch your own pace, slow down, take it easy.
No heart attacks.
Everybody goes right at it because they see the energy is just intense.
It's like It's one of those times when people are naturally competitive. You don't have to tell them to do any of this. You just start you start seeing the guy looking over.
And then I look over and I see somebody running to the bathroom and I'm like, there we go. I'm like, I gotta go check up, make sure they're good, and they're good. But I think you learn a lot from yourself. You push through those mental blocks. Yeah. So like in life and anything, there's obstacles and a lot of it is just yourself. You're mentally.
That's one of the nice things with working in a group like that or doing a team thing. It would have been middle school, beginning of high school. I played football, and we had a big lifting program in my high school. And I hurt my back freshman year, and I was done. I learned to play golf, and I was like, oh, I have a chance to be really good at golf. I have a chance to be mediocre at football. So I sort of switched. But even in middle school, they would tell us to go to the high school weight room. So after school, all these guys, we would walk or jog. Sometimes they'd even run a bus for us to the high school, and you'd go work. And I never thought about it then, but being in that room with all those guys who all had sort of similar goals, and you find yourself working to your competition. Mm-hmm. If you're working out by yourself, there's nothing to look at. There's nothing. Unless you have a trainer who can push you.
Yeah, you need discipline, but a little competition, brings out a little more in you. You gotta push yourself a little harder. You see them doing one more push-up, and you was like, all right, now I'm going to do 2 more.
I can do this. I can do it. And it's a nice way to keep yourself motivated without ever having to really, even try it. It almost it does it for you. Having the group around you does it for you. But, I don't know. I look at, some of the stuff you post, and I think, man, that's got to be tricky because of the different groups in the room. Yeah. But, I guess if you're not too much of a hard ass about it, then
I mean,
they can sort of do it themselves. Well, yeah,
because I mean, people do throw up a lot. I would see here in live. I say people don't throw up.
Yeah,
and it's crazy because I'm like, you all right? And they laugh about it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man, I haven't worked out this hard in I don't know how long.
Yeah,
and it's like I just pushed you to that breaking point, and then it's like you're that much stronger now.
Yeah,
but I'm on them. I push them. I make sure it's like my intensity maybe. Just because of how intense I am in my personal life with boxing and everything I do,
right?
Maybe to me it seems like I'm laying off the gas a little bit, but to others it's like, okay, hey man, slow down a little bit.
See, maybe that's
to me, maybe my perspective is a little different, but because
that's good though. I mean, I always think about that. Like I think about that in teaching. I think about that. I mean, I haven't coached in a while, but like you ask people for the best you could possibly expect from them, and maybe even a little bit better than that. And then just be understanding when you get less. You know what I mean? Like, if I only ask you for what you can do, then that's all you're going to do, right? But if the goal is for you to do it better, I have to ask you to do it better, to do more, with the understanding that you're probably going to fail.
Yeah.
But if I just ask you to do what you already can do, you're going to do it. But what in the end, like, it looks like we did stuff, but how much progress do you make if I didn't ask you to do it better?
For sure.
And so, but that's where if you're used to working up here and these people are down here, then you have to know when to like lay off a little bit. And I don't know,
It took me a little bit to kind of find that.
I was gonna say, how do you learn that?
It took me a little bit. I kind of reading body language and just understanding. Like they start looking pale. Yeah. It's like, okay, let me really slow down because
that's what and it works. This was like it works differently with people like different skin tones. But I always know. Like for me, I'm good. I can turn bright red, I'm good. I can get a little pale, I'm good. When I get pale with some red spots going on, I need to sit down and drink water.
Yeah, for sure. Like, sit down.
It's like, how do you like take a reading of that? I mean, I know my first few years teaching, that was a thing, and I mean, I taught you. What did we just say? With my fourth year
Yeah, I think you said third year. Yeah,
it's probably second or third. Yeah, because I started 06, 07, 07, 08. So yeah, it was probably something like that. I think in certain ways, like, I was probably asking too much at certain times. And I know, like, the first time I got, like, an 11th grade honors class, or I'm like, American Lit, that's what I want to do. And I know I asked for too much now,
Yeah.
And the kids all complained, and I was just like, you're soft. Your other teachers aren't trying. Okay. And I still say that, because the reality is I don't think the other teachers aren't trying. I don't know that people judge well what you can ask someone else for. But I think I probably started too much. And then you sort of work your way back. But I also think that's easier, though, because if you think about it, if you start off being too hard on people, say in training, and you can sort of rein it back in, that's probably a better place to be than to start off too soft. Because if people walk out and don't feel like they got a great workout, they're not coming back. And it's a lot harder to start easy and then all of a sudden make it hard. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, if it's hard and it gets a little easier, people adjust down a lot easier than they adjust up. Like, you can't show up and ask a guy to... do a workout he's comfortable with, and then realize that wasn't enough, and a week later, make it twice as hard. Like, that guy's sad. He's sad when he leaves.
And trial and error. I mean, I think I had that. That was when I first started, I was pushing people so hard that it was like, dude, relax. Like, I would look back and I'm like, why did I push them to that breaking point? But then it was like, I gotta remember, they're just, whatever their goals are weren't the same as mine. Being a boxer, I had to push myself to the extreme, being in this condition.
Right.
This
person just wants to wear a bathing suit
outside.
Yeah,
they just want to lose a few pounds. They just want to feel good about themselves. Like, yo, take it easy a little bit.
This is not combative.
Yeah, exactly. So I tell them it's more like a mental training. I try to tell them, I'm going to make you feel uncomfortable, but I want you to feel comfortable in that uncomfortable situation.
Right. There's a fun education word for this, and I don't remember what it is, but it's where things have to be harder than you can do on your own, but not so hard that you can't do it with a little bit of help from me. It's like I'm going to use the word, and then it's probably the wrong word. It's like the zone of proximal development or something, but it's like, if I just ask you to do what you can already do, we're not doing anything. Yeah. And if I ask you to do more than you can do even with my help, you're going to end up feeling like a failure and you're going to quit. And so there's this like in between where I'm asking you for more than you can do, but it's not so much that I can't help you to do it still. And and I think like in a way some of that you can teach someone that, like as a trainer, as a teacher, like you can. But I don't think the best people learn it that way. I think like you just do it, you know. And that's like I feel like most of the best stuff I do as a teacher, stuff I figured out. It's one of the reasons like I wanted you to come here and do this, like, is because
I just want you to know that.
But,
tell you that.
you know, but I mean, like, I think back to like you in class though, like you have a very good personality. You read people well. Like, you know, there's still like stories that I will occasionally bust out in class about you or the class you were in. And the thing is, even when things weren't going well, you, in my experience, and I mean, we obviously don't hang out a lot, but keeping in touch a little bit, seeing you here and there, like, you're a person who reads people well. You respond well. Like, you can make a joke in class. You could get up and walk across the room at the wrong time. And at no point am I ever, as a teacher, going to lose my mind about it because you respond very nicely to it. And I don't know if you can teach someone to, like, read a person like that, to just sort of naturally handle a social situation well like that, which is a thing that then makes you better at your job now. Like, you run a business where you work with people. You can teach someone workouts. You can go to class. I mean, I had an old roommate who did the certification to become whatever the organization is, like a nationally certified, you know, physical trainer, so he could work in other people's gyms and do certain things, and he did all that. But he never actually followed through doing it because he just, you know, he's a great guy. He just really doesn't like people that much. Like, he doesn't have the patience for that kind of stuff. And so I always thought, like, you could teach someone, you know, proper technique and workout routines. You could teach someone American literature or grammar. I don't know if you can teach as easily like how you work with people. And so when you're saying like, you know, just both getting along with people, but also understand like how do you get the most out of somebody, you get better at as you go. But I don't know if you, I honestly don't know this. This is probably sounds pessimistic. Like, I'm going to mentor a new teacher this year. He seems good. I met him once already. Okay. He's like right out of college. Good dude. Seems very smart. But I keep thinking about it, like, he was good in conversation with me. He seems all right. But I don't know how to teach him how to respond to people. Like, I can tell him, here's what I would say, but your job isn't to be me. Your job is to be a good you, yourself, you know? And so I don't know how you, like, teach that, you know? And so for you, like, the working with people part, you know, you're getting better. I'm sure you know, like you've already said, you've adjusted your expectation. I'm sure you're getting better every day as you do it. But there are parts of that probably come from just you being you and experience. Like,
yeah, a lot of it, I did. You know, I always knew I was a people's person. I always got along with people. You know, I felt like I was always either, I'm an all or nothing type of guy. So I feel like either you like me or you don't. There was never ever in between. And I always got along well with people. And but you know what really helped me was being a server, because you learn to deal with all sorts of people. I mean, you'll deal with people that are just rude. I mean, they'll be upright. I mean, and I've dealt with a lot of stuff, you know.
You got to smile and nod.
Yeah, you know, smile and nod. People that wouldn't even talk to you, acknowledge you. Yeah. And you're talking to them, and it's like you're talking to the wall, or they'll be like, hey, get me this. And it's like, all right, I know it's my job, but come on, man. Take it easy a little bit. You know, help me out a little bit. Come on, man. Yeah. Or, you know, so you learn how, and I was a good server, by the way. I feel like I was good. I feel like something that I was taught when I was young was just be the best at whatever you do. Yeah. You know, so my mother would always say, like, you know, if you're gonna be a doctor, be the best doctor. If you're gonna clean toilets, be the best toilet cleaner. Yeah. You know, be the best person you can be. So even in that, I would always say, okay, I was good with rolling with the punches. You know, something boxing also taught me. You know, people would come at me, throw some jabs at me. I'm like, okay, you know, learn how to roll with it, keep moving. Just, you know, it is what it is. I can't let you ruin my whole day.
yeah. Like it's like you got to know, like, you know, what do they always say? What's the pick your battles, kind of cliche, exactly. but it's also like learning that most of those battles aren't worth fighting. Like, you know, especially in that job. I mean, it's going to vary situation to situation or job to job. But like as a server, my younger sister was a server for years, and in her personal life, she can be the friendliest person in the world or the most confrontational. You know, but when she's at work, like, she smiles, she's so helpful, she's great, and it's just like that. She's at work, and I always think, like, man, like, if you could do that outside of work. And I think about it, I'm like, that's a stupid thing to ask, though, because at work you're like being that person, you know, like asking a server to behave like a server all the time is going to make you a miserable person. Like, that's no way to live your life, you know. But you're right, you probably have to learn a lot about how, like, read a person.
You know, it definitely helped me grow as a person. Like, really, you know, I would say, you know, just having that boxing, and I was, you know, at times I could be very confrontational. So being a server, I learned, you know, some people will throw jabs at you, and you just gotta just take it or just keep moving. I mean, I had one person just recently, before I had left the job, I had one person. You know, there was all this stuff going on with the Trump and the border. I was in Guatemala, and so when I came back, you know, I just came back from a third world country. Everything seems, I'm great. I'm happy. I just saw my family for the first time, and in a long years. So
Yeah.
I'm sitting here and I'm serving somebody, and the guy goes, "What's your name, man?" I'm like, "Eric." I'm like, where the hell did you get that name from? I'm kind of like, so already there, alarms are kind of setting off. Like, okay, like where's this going? You know, I'm like, my father. You know, is he one of those border hoppers? And I'm like, oh, okay, guy, here we go. So initially, I mean, reacting, I was ready to just say, hey, you know what, man? I was ready to just, you know, say whatever and just kind of, you know, just say whatever. I don't need this job and just keep it moving. You know,
Right.
At that time, I was still I was flirting with personal training and doing IHOP.
Right.
So I was man, whatever. I just do it full time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just mess with him. I'm gonna just mess with this guy.
Yeah.
I said, it's cool, man. So I listened. I don't remember what I said to him, but then he was like, all right. So he asked for his food. So when I came back, I was like, I gotta throw a jab back. I said, hey, Jose in the back cooked that specially for you, man. Oh man, the look in his face was just, oh man. I'm like, you want to play Final Five?
I'm handling your food like you should be nice.
You should be very nice, but I never did that. Let me just make that clear.
No,
but it was just to mess with him and just to like, yo, dude, I don't have to physically get involved, but I'm gonna say something that's gonna get you.
Well, you know, but that's also, I think there are times when you, like, that's a battle that might be worth fighting. Not like actually fighting that guy. Like, it's probably not worth losing a job over, but at the same time, he knows what he's doing. Like, nobody says that without some awareness that, like, he knows he's messing with you or he's trying to say a thing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of those times when, like, people say something stupid or ignorant accidentally, or they don't know they did it. It doesn't make it okay, but it's also one that's probably easier to roll with because there's no like bad intent. You know,
he knew what he was saying.
But that's what I'm saying. But like, he knew what he was saying.
Knew what he was
and so
about.
and so when a person does it on purpose, I think it's easier to respond because I think that person expects the response.
Yeah.
And then the response you give, you know, nothing would have made his day more than if you had gotten mad. You know, like,
for sure.
if you just started yelling about it, like, that guy would have loved that.
Exactly. You see, I told you.
You see,
like,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like, I was just like, all right, dude. I'm like,
but at the same time, like, it warrants response. Like, you got to say something to that. I don't know. That'd be. I'm like, man, that's. Yeah, I don't know what you do with that.
Oh yeah.
Do you feel like that? I mean, we're not going to go down like the Trump rabbit hole, but do you think that like towards the end of your serving career, do you feel like that stuff got more common?
It definitely got a lot more common with everything that was going on.
Yeah.
And but you know, hey, you know, everybody's entitled to their own opinions. I understand. I'm the firstborn here. Yeah. So I mean, you know, I've had family come here. You know, both ways. So I understand. I know it's not too political, man. It's just
no, but I know what you mean though. But like, yeah, I was just thinking like when you know you sort of like feel like a rising tide or something like that, and you got to start thinking about like, got to reassess the whole like what battles are worth fighting here. Yeah. Like, how am I going to handle that? I mean, like, to say that kind of stuff like in class. So since like I taught you in ninth grade. But I've been teaching.
A while ago, man.
Yeah. I know. That makes you feel old. Imagine what it's like on this side of the table.
It's crazy because, you know, when I was younger, I would always look up to people, you know, the older guys were, you know, 20, 22, 25, 26, you know. I would, you know, hey, what's up, big homie? What's up, big dog? What's up, big bro? You know. Yeah. And what was it, a few weeks ago, you know, younger guys were like, hey, what's up, big bro? What's up, big homie? I'm kind of like, big homie. Like, you know, it caught me off guard. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm 25. And I'm like, man, maybe I'm at that point in my life now where I'm the older head.
Yeah, I'm that guy.
Yeah, I'm that guy now that they're like, you know, when they talk to me, it's like, hey, what's up, big bro? And I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah, it's like a little like shift and roll, you know.
It's like, yeah, I guess I'm closer to 30 than I thought, you know.
Yeah, right. I just turned 36. I'm like, oh man, I'm like looking down the barrel at 40, and I'm like, whoa, I don't know about any of that.
Hey, youth is all in the head, man. That's right. It's all in the mind.
That's you know, the thing that reminds me best is that, you know, when I have to put sunscreen on top of my head now, that's the thing. You know, I could forget. I could be hanging out anywhere. I mean, for a while, like I worked at Algonquin Golf Course for a while when I lived in Sterling. Okay. It was like 5 minutes from my house. I get free golf. You know, I mean, I had to be there at 5:30 in the morning. That sucked, you know, on Saturday. But it was a great place to work. It's free golf and all this. But I was working with people who in the office were older than me, and people who were working around, the desk and, selling greens fees and hot dogs and stuff. Aside from one woman who was also a teacher who's a little bit older, they were all basically high school or college age students. And like I'd be working, and at certain points, like I'd forget how much older I was because I don't think of it like that. Mm-hmm. And then here and there, I'm like talking, I'm like, wait a minute. That kid's a senior in high school. I can't have this conversation because I teach high school. It's not that I couldn't have this conversation in another year or two, or like but it's like you can very easily forget sometimes. Like you said, it's all in your head, and when it's not in your head, you don't feel or think like, oh, I'm this age or I'm doing this thing. It sneaks up on you, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, I got to be that guy now. Like, oh, I'm talking to this guy and he's looking up to me.
I got to be careful with what I say.
I was just BSing around here. I was just, all right, I gotta be this much more careful, or because this guy's actually listening, and that's, sometimes people are just talking and sometimes people are listening, and then you gotta like reassess quick. Do you work with younger kids?
I work with young kids.
I know you do how did you get into, okay, so jump, but working with younger kids, how do you get into the fencing stuff?
The fencing. Okay, so the fencing, I actually, when I used to teach classes at LA Boxing. Okay. Which then turned into UFC gym. And there was a few people there was a family that used to come there and work out all the time. And he asked me, he said, hey, would you be interested in training my son, personal training? He does fencing, and it's very similar to boxing. And at that time, I never really looked into fencing. I knew what it was, but I never...
It's a lot of footwork, right?
A lot of footwork. Yeah. A lot of footwork, a lot of fast twitch muscles. It's very similar to boxing. So I was okay. So I started working with him, started doing a lot of boxing training, and it ended up helping him. He ended up going to nationals, ended up getting ranked top 10. He ended up just starting to kill it. And he did real well. So... I had just built that relationship with that family. Years passed, and he calls me one day. He says, hey, I'm going to open a gym. I'm going to open up my own fencing academy. Would you be interested in being the strength and conditioning coach for the fencing academy? Yeah. At the time, I said, yeah, that'd be cool. I'm not really, I just picked up the phone and haven't talked to him in a while. I'm like, okay, man, okay, I'm gonna get back to you soon. And once everything's in order. And at the time, I was full-time at IHOP, and I was always like, always just boxing. Right. I'm like, okay, well, yeah. And he called me maybe a month later, and he said, hey, man, you ready to start in like 2 weeks? Start what? At the time, I had forgot. I'm like, start what? He said, hey, man, I told you I was going to open my own academy, and I got the strength conditioning program. I want you to run it. I said, oh, I'm in there, man. Let's do it. That's funny. And then from there, it just took off. Started working with kids that are like 4 or 5 years old. They don't have no coordination. They really don't know how to use their body. Their legs does one thing, their arms doing something else. So it was fun, man. That's awesome, man. Good. I still do it to this day. So it's fun. That's
funny you said that. I'm like, I took my kid. He just turned 3. Took him to swim lessons yesterday, and he's like loving it. He's having a blast. All they said was like, put your arms like Superman, like arms up like this, and he's like. And he couldn't get both arms to do it. And at first, I was just like, I started getting mad because I was like, you're not listening. And then I'm like, oh no, he is listening. He doesn't know what any parts of his body are doing at the same time. Like he doesn't feel that yet. Like I can't get mad about that. Like I had to like take a deep breath. Like he's not being a bum. He's 3.
Take it easy.
Do you think? If that's still you're still full-time server, focused on boxing outside of work. Did that guy ask you to do that? Push some of the personal training?
He did. He opened that thought in my head as far as he said, hey man, if you're gonna do this though, you need to open up an LLC for taxes, and just started giving me all sorts of knowledge. And I said, wow. So I started looking into it, and I said, okay. I said, that's gonna help me with taxes. Yeah. I said, okay, hey, why not? So. And at first, I wasn't really, like I said, I was kind of doing it part-time just for extra money. Right. And I was still at the restaurant. I was still all boxing. And I was like, it's just, I surround myself around a great group of guys. Matthew Berger and Diego Berger. Diego's a realtor. Matthew runs Driving with Matthew. Yeah. And so they started being just entrepreneurs, working for themselves. And I was like, man, I could do that too. I'm like, I make good money doing it. If I focus on it. Yeah. Like, how much money can I really make? Like, I can get out the restaurant and just stop dealing with angry people that want their coffee first thing in the morning. And so I did it. I said, you know, I gotta take that leap of faith, man. It is what it is, you know. And so yeah, I mean,
that's awesome.
I lied to you if I said it was easy. I mean, it's hard. It's a lot of hard work. I mean, it is, but I love it.
So, I mean, some of the training stuff comes from boxing. A lot of it's going to come from boxing. Where did you learn the business stuff?
Business stuff, trial and error. What I read, learn from Matthew, Diego. Just basically, I think you just gotta go with. I look into a lot of it. The biggest thing for me is I like to listen. So when I ask questions, I mean, they can go on for days and I'll listen. I really like to listen. So I talk to a lot of personal trainers that have been in the game for a while, and I ask them a million questions, and they'll answer, and it's helped me. It's definitely. I've been able to grow a lot faster than I would have if I didn't.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. I just I think about like, my wife helped run a studio and opened a studio and did all this stuff, and then that sort of fell apart and whatever, and so. She wasn't sure what she was going to do, and then it was like, you know what? If I'm ever going to do it, now's the time. I'm starting my own business. Yeah. And it was good. And she had learned a lot from that previous job in terms of operating. She learned a lot about marketing. She learned a lot about, how to make a website and stuff like that she did at that other company. But then, like, it became like, now I got to file an LLC. I got to figure out some tax stuff. I got to do all this. And for that, she didn't necessarily have a lot of people she could talk to about it, so whatever she learned before she got to use, and then the rest was sort of on the fly. And so I found myself learning a ton from her as she was doing it, but I also found myself trying to help and watching some videos or, doing some reading and all this stuff. And so, I don't know, I just think like for a lot of people, that's probably the hardest thing to go from here's the thing I'm good at to here's how I make that my job. Is like the technical piece of, if you're good at a thing, be good at it. And
you make money out of it.
And even word of mouth can help that to spread, but like, how do you make that like a legitimate thing? Yeah. And how do you make that a full-time thing?
Yeah, or like social media now, man. Go on Google. I know I typed in how to become a successful personal trainer. And whatever popped up, I clicked on it. Whatever question I may have, just Google it and it pops up.
And I mean, and you're doing well. Do you think did you ever take a business class in school?
I never did.
Should you have?
Actually, I had spoke to one of my good friends, and he took a business class. Yeah. And
in high school or college?
In college.
Okay.
And he told me, he said he only took a few classes, and he told me his professor actually told him, he said, man, look, business, you don't need to take this class. And he said, I shouldn't be telling you guys this, but you don't need to take this class to become business owners. And I was like, that's kind of crazy. You think about it, and it's like everybody that took that business class, if you really needed that to become a business owner, how many business owners would there really be right now? Because I mean, I think that's business, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, a lot of people take that class, and a lot of them go to work a 9 to 5, or they go
work at someone else's business.
Yeah, someone else's business, but they don't make their own business.
Right.
So I mean, even those teachers that know that textbook from page 1 to the end, why they're not running the business? Right. So I think it's just that
it's more like
it looks good on paper, maybe. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't find good information. Yeah. There are things that would help you, but as far as being necessary to be successful, I don't think so.
See, I mean, I talk, and I always say for this, like I think about my wife's situation because she's running her business and that is her full-time job, and she does this, and like here and there, like we're talking about something, or she's thinking about trying to like expand or make a change, and I say sometimes like, you should just take like an online class in marketing or do this thing in management, whatever. Because as a teacher, I have a tendency to believe like there's going to be value in it, and the reality is like she'd probably learn some stuff, but I think most of it, one, as you said, is probably available for free online somewhere. Yeah. Like you probably don't need to pay for it.
Google it.
You don't need a degree to hire yourself, so you don't need that. So you could Google it, but some of it, like you said, is trial and error too. And so, could she take that class online or through the community college? Yeah. Would I be happy to pay for it and thinking it's helping? Yeah. But the time that she would be taking away from the work she's actually doing in her business, I don't know if it would have enough benefit for that. You know what I mean? Like, if it meant that she had to walk back what she was doing already in a functioning and successful business to take the class to learn how to get a functioning and successful business. Like, that's probably a bad use of your time.
You started backtracking a little bit.
Yeah, it's like if she had done that when she was 20, that would make sense. But like now, where you're already in the middle of it, I don't know how much help that provides compared to, say, having some people you can talk to get ideas or to get advice, or being able to do a little research on your own. Like, I don't know. Like, I just think about, say in high school, kids who take business classes love them. And they do a lot of like business stuff, like DECAs, like big like national, international competitions, and I'm sure like through doing the projects they're learning a lot about it, and that's probably more useful than an extra study hall or some random class they didn't want to take anyway. I also don't know how much of that, and I don't know, I'm not doubting it. I don't know how much of that would actually translate to actually running your own business, And so I think about, back to like sort of one of those like core questions is like, in what ways does school serve you or not? Like, as a guy who owns a business but never took any of the business classes offered in high school, like, if you could go back to high school, like just go back in time, would you take one of those as an elective? Just like pop into, do you think?
I say why not? I would. I definitely would. I wouldn't say I wouldn't. If I were to go back, I would just actually try to pay attention in class. Because I mean, it's just, in school, I think it was just the general knowledge itself, just learning things that I didn't know. Yeah. And when I did try, I did well, and when I didn't, I just didn't do well. And I think I would have. I think I would have actually showed a little more interest in things. But I mean, that comes with experience. I mean, trial and error. I mean, now I'm like, when I tell the younger guys that call me, hey, big bro, hey, big homie, I'm like, hey, man, how's school going? They're in high school. Yeah. And they're like, it's all right, man. I got D's. And I'm like, man, what you doing, man? I said, that's free education, man. Just focus.
Even if you're not going to use all of it.
And that's what I tell them. You may not. History class, like, man, I'm failing history. I said, it's cool, man. I understand, man. Just pass the class, though, man. Do well. I mean, just learn. I always try.
I said this maybe 4 or 5 months ago at random. A student, young lady, graduated maybe 2 years ago, I think. And I was working with a kid after school, working on paper or something. And she just stopped by, sort of unannounced. Hey, what's up? How's it going? And it's funny, like, nice kid. And, like, we always went back and forth and joked and stuff. But, like, she, oh, I hate this class. Oh, you're such a jerk, whatever. But, like, I also knew she was joking, at least for most of it. Maybe not all of it. But she came in, just sort of checked in, said hi. Like, I think she was going to hang out for a minute, but she saw us working, so she's getting ready to go. And I asked her something about the paper I was working on. I said, do you remember blah, blah, blah? And she paused and sort of, like, looked up, and you can tell she's thinking. She goes, actually, to be honest, and then she smiled. And this is where I know she's like throwing a little dart here or something. But she goes, I don't really remember anything about this class. and I think she thought that was going to hurt. And I laughed and I said, well, you say that, but look where you're standing right now. She said, what do you mean? I said, who'd you come back to visit? She went, well, and I said this, and I wasn't sure it was. And after the fact, I decided I was probably right, maybe. But like going to school, say for the kid who's like, I'm failing history, and you're like, right. I mean, if you're not going to have a job in academia or politics, like you don't need a lot of that. I mean, it's good to know it, but you'll survive without it. But it's like all like going. It's like going to the gym, and this is actually what I said to her. So it's just convenient that you do this. Yeah. But I said, I know, like she plays volleyball. She plays college volleyball. So I was like, you go to the gym, you work out, right? She was, yeah. I said, so you remember what you did at the gym 3 weeks ago on Thursday? She's like, what are you talking? No. And I said, so you don't remember any of it? She goes, well, I don't know. I went in. I guess I did a workout. I don't know. I said, did it matter that you went? She goes, well, yeah. And I said, would it have mattered if you skipped a day? And she goes, well, probably not. But, it would matter if I skipped a bunch. I said, so the important thing is that you're there and you're doing it. You're lifting the weights. She said, yeah. I said, well, maybe that's all school is. Maybe it doesn't really matter if you remember all of it. Maybe all of it's just like lifting weights for your brain. Like, by learning things, you're learning, your brain's working hard. So when you're 25, maybe the details of the Articles of Confederation don't matter at all to you. Wow. But I was trying to pull something around.
Wow.
But maybe the fact that you tried to learn it in the first place does matter. Like, maybe it's easier to learn stuff later because you did all that learning early. Whether you needed to know the details of, the different kinds of clouds or the different, articles. And, like, maybe the whole thing is really just, like, you're exercising your brain. So in 10 years, you don't remember the exact thing you learned. But if you hadn't learned it, you wouldn't be doing the things you're doing now.
For sure. Mental reps.
And like, you could tell, like, she sort of, it's exactly. And she sort of paused and she's like, I And she's like, you're stupid. I'll stop by another time. See you. And she left. And after she left, I was like, I got to think about that. Because I said that confidently. Yeah, like, but I'm good at saying things confidently. Like, that might have just been a load of crap, you know. But I was thinking about it. I was like, that's probably true. Like, I mean, like, what do you remember from my class?
To be honest with you, the people, I mean, I remember that was my funnest class in 9th grade. You know, I'm not saying that just because you're in front of me, but seriously, I mean, it was a great class. I mean, you made it fun to learn, you know, because especially coming from middle school and then going into high school first year, you know, middle school and now you're high school, it was fun, you know, and I was in there with a lot of my friends, so.
Yeah. But you know, you think about
that's
like
the most that I remember
the stuff you remember, like you're like, I don't remember any of the comma stuff. I don't remember any of those short stories or anything. It's like, but that doesn't. The fact that you don't remember the thing doesn't mean that the thing didn't matter. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I was thinking about that in terms of, say, like school. Like, say, like, do you take a business class? No. Do you wish you would have? Sure. How different would things be right now? Probably not maybe very. Not much, you know, I mean, maybe you never know, but probably not. Like, you know, the biggest changes in life come from little unexpected things. Say, like the guy who opens his gym and then gives you some pointers and says, "Hey, set up your LLC, do this." Yeah. If you didn't have contact with that guy, your life would probably be a lot more different right now than if you hadn't been in my English class. Or, you know what, like, the big changes sometimes come from little places, but you think about, like...
Look at him as a mentor, for sure. You need mentors in life. I think that's the biggest thing. What I've learned a lot is mentors, knowing who to listen to. Because everybody wants to talk, everybody likes to talk, but, I mean, it's knowing who to listen to. Right. And, you know, sometimes I let people talk, though. You know, so they can go on for days, and it goes to one ear, out through the other. But if it's really something if I look at you and I'm like, okay, I know where you're at right now in life, your trials and errors, your trials and tribulations, whatever. Got
something to offer.
You got something, like I'll listen. Like I'm really curious to learn from you, and it may not fit me, but I'm still learning. You know, I still like to absorb information from people, and especially people that are, you know, 50, 60 years old, and they're like, man, you know, you got all the time in the world. You know, I remember like thinking now, it's like, man, sometimes I stress out. I'm like, oh, I'm 25. And they're like, dude, it's okay. Like, it's okay. Time, you got time. I didn't have.
Not that you want to waste the time, but don't waste it. You don't always have to rush either.
For sure.
Yeah. I'd like to interrupt real quick with a note post-recording. During the editing, I noticed that Ryan Tibbens, made a little mistake with the editing software. And somehow we stopped the recording. Right around this point in our discussion, Eric and I both decided, hey, we need to take a bathroom break. We're going to try to order some food. And so I paused it. And at that point, I don't know if it's computer glitch or user error, but we lost about 20 minutes of audio. And I'm a little upset about it because in the 20 minutes, we heard some really good stuff. Eric made a very important personal announcement that we're actually going to talk about a little later on. He also talked about one of his favorite teachers, Miss Felisa Cups, and how much he learned from her, especially the way in which she held him accountable, and he learned about personal responsibility. I also referenced some of my own family's past and some things that we've gone through. And I'm not going to recount it all here because I think realistically it's going to come up again. It's going to come up in future episodes. And in case you can't already tell as you listen to this, Eric Hernandez is one of my favorite people, and I hope to have him on here again. So we may redo a little bit of this. But as a person, I believe it's better to admit fault gracefully than try to hide it. And so right here, we lose 15 to 20 minutes of some of the best discussion we probably had. So we're going to continue on now. With where the recording picks back up. At this point, we have food and the restaurant's gotten a little busier, so I've tried to edit out any of the nasty chewing sounds we're making and also to minimize the background noise. But for any listeners out there who notice a little jump here, I apologize for the lost audio, and we're going to make sure we do better in the future. All right, well, thank you very much and enjoy the rest. I'm going to eat some food.
Oh, yeah, this looks good.
Can't wait for my garden to be ready and look at these tomatoes. Like,
hey, I haven't seen those pictures. You got jalapenos in there, right?
Not this year. I didn't plant any. I need to go back. I normally get like volunteer plants, like where like stuff falls a year before and then the plants pop up. I got none this year. So I have 4 habanero plants. I've got a ghost pepper, Anaheim hot pepper, hot banana peppers. But no jalapenos this year because I expected them just to come back. Yeah. I like hot food.
Oh yeah, me too, man. I'm right there with you. How the habaneros? You had them?
That we're just starting to bud. They're slow to grow.
They're slow to grow.
That's That's funny. It's one of my favorite things when you do like a generalization. They're like, white people can't eat spicy food, or white people think mayo is spicy, and I'm like, nah, like I like hot food.
I was just about to say I'm Mexican, man. I love spicy food, man.
A buddy of mine just moved to Orlando. And so we went out to this Mexican restaurant near his house. It's near where I used to live. And I was like, so you guys got hot sauce? And he's like, oh, there's some on the table. And I was like, no, like hot sauce. And he goes, well, I mean, we got the homemade stuff in the back, but that's pretty hot. And I was like, give me the hottest hot sauce you have without making something special. And he's like, all right. And he brought it out. And I was like, this is all. And I didn't complain to him. But I was like, this is all jalapenos. Like, this dude, they don't even have a habanero hot sauce. You can't even. How are you going to warn me like that?
Yeah.
And I was like, he's being racist. Like, I don't deserve this treatment.
Oh, no, man. Growing up, all my uncles would get together, and whoever's house we would go to, it was their job to make the hot sauce. They had to make the spiciest hot sauce. So every time we get there, the trash talking will begin. All right, let me try your ketchup. And let me see what this is about. And they'll try it, and they start sweating, and they're... You hear them huffing and puffing. No, it's not spicy, man. It's not spicy, man.
Your head is sweating. It's hot.
Man, it's hot in here, man. Put up the AC, man. What's wrong?
When your scalp starts sweating on top, that's when you know it's hot.
And so, I grew up like that. So I grew up just eating jalapenos and hot sauce and everything. And man, now I'm 25. Excuse me, Mr. Tibbens eating, but it don't sit well on my stomach as I get used to. You know what I'm saying?
I go all in on hot. It's actually one thing, like with the tutoring. I get home, at least a couple nights a week. I get home after dinner, so everybody's already eaten. And so I usually pull this off, but I try to make sure I get up and eat breakfast. Like my wife doesn't really like to eat breakfast, and the baby's a baby, but Will and I eat breakfast every morning. And so sometimes, like, just to make sure I can, on Sundays or Saturday mornings, I'll make enough scrambled eggs to last a week and put them in a Tupperware, or I make a bunch of pancakes and like they're there, And then that way, if I have time, I make breakfast, and if not, and a lot of times I don't, I can just heat it up and it's ready to go. But I like hot sauce on the eggs. And so I don't think it was last year, it was a year before, I made a hot sauce with habaneros and Tabasco peppers, which are like these little itty bitty things. Like they don't look like anything. They're bright red, but it's like this big. Like, whatever. Like, they're hot.
Like that.
And so I made it with those. It was like I forget. The recipe was like, I remember it was Salvadorian or Ecuadorian. It had like a nationality attached. Thank you. And so I made it, and it's basically like carrots and honey, and then as many hot peppers as you can load in. And so it didn't call for the Tabasco things, but I put it in, and I was like, so I took it, gave it to a couple friends. I was like, careful, it's hot. And they're like, oh, yeah. And then, like, a few days later, they're like, oh, man, I put too much on. You can't. It's just like a dab. I was sweating. I crapped my pants the next morning. I did all this stuff, and I was like, I told you, it's good. Yeah. So that's why I didn't plant jalapenos this year, though. So I was like, I just want, like, really hot stuff, because you can always water it down, but I also expected to have some jalapenos just pop up, and they didn't. Normally they do, and they didn't this year.
Nah, my uncle has an old saying. If I don't feel it in the bathroom the next morning, it wasn't spicy enough.
I'm gonna appreciate this twice. That's one where I get buddies who tease me. My friend from high school posted this thing one time. In response, I put up like garden pictures, and he responded. And he goes, "That's great. Just think, for your scores of hours of work, you saved literally $12 at the grocery store." And I was like, "Oh, that hurts because it's probably right." But
would you find that as like a hobby, a pastime?
Yeah, it's just something to do.
Something that gives you,
I don't know. I like being outside. It gives me a reason to be outside. Without overburdening myself, I like taking care of stuff. And so a garden is a thing that you can set up and you can just let it go, but you're not going to get anything. Like, you have to take care of it once in a while. Mm-hmm. So during the summer, I try at least once a week. Twice a week's best, but at least once a week I try to spend like a whole afternoon. And I'm always slow in the mornings. I'm like, oh, I gotta send a couple emails, or I gotta pay this bill, I gotta do this. And right about 11:30, when it's starting to get hot out, I'm like, I should really get outside, you know.
Oh, wow.
So like last Friday, I was outside for like 5 hours, from like 11 to 4 or something, like the hottest part of the day.
Oh man.
And my wife's always like, you're an idiot. I was like, I know, but at least I'm a consistent idiot because I always do this. But it's time I'm outside. I can just hang out. Maybe I put on music or listen to a book or a podcast or something. And I get dirty, and it's great. And then I'm like, okay, cool. I go shower, and I'm done. And then when we get food, I feel like, like I made that. Like, I didn't really make it, but it's good. And now, like with kids, like Will likes to go out. He's not super helpful yet, but he talks a lot about vegetables. And he, more than any little kid I know, likes to eat his vegetables because he grew them, you know. So we go out and we pick the stuff, or and I'm like, all right, so we're gonna pull weeds, and he starts trying to pull the vegetable plants. I'm like, no. All right, I need you to pick up all the little rocks and put them over along the fence. Like, that's your job. You're the rock guy now. Like, and keep you busy that way. Now, my other way to get outside would be to go play golf.
Yeah.
And then I'm $50 in. I can go sweat in my garden for free and get some food out of it every couple weeks. Probably the easier way to do it.
I gotta ask you, bro. You being a father of two, what advice would you give me? Being that my lady's expecting, and that I'm kind of, not knowing I'm excited to be a father. I think I'm really, really excited to be a father. Ever since I was young, I'd always say, like, I can't wait to be a father. Well, obviously I could wait at the time, but but when it's time, it's gonna be awesome, because everything that I missed, or everything that I didn't receive when I was younger, made me who I am today, obviously. But I can't wait to give them that. Hey, I was there at your football games, soccer games, whatever the case may be. I was there for your first fight, there when you're on your first date. Things that good guidance. I guess, in a sense, a man guidance.
I would say, you just encapsulated a lot of it. Is be there, be excited, and be patient. And I don't mean to disrespect anybody else, because people have different circumstances, and you can show your care a lot of ways, but you need to be there. And so if you don't have to work 15 hours a day, don't. I say it's like I do the tutoring after school. Like I miss a couple meals, but I think, I'm always trying to balance, like we talked about earlier, like how much time away from family makes family better so we can pay for stuff versus, so to whatever extent you can, be there, and then be excited, which you're also good at. Little kids get excited about little weird stuff. And what I find is, as long as I'm excited with them, like, he's into it, So if, when I buy, we get him a toy, I try not to just think, what toy is he gonna like? I try to think, what toy would I like? Because if I play with him with the toy, that toy is worth the money, because we get this use out of it. If I buy him just something he likes and he brings over to me, I'm like, whatever, and he plays it a little bit and then he sits it down, right? And so I try to find things that I know he'll like, but that I would be interested in doing too, because then we get to do it together. One, I don't have to buy as many toys because we both like this, but it also means, so it's like, and so be excited about little stuff, because kids get excited about weird stuff. And even when it's lame or doesn't make sense, just, oh yeah, no, that's great. Like that tone of voice right there. I do that 10 times a day. Oh yeah, really? All right, man, cool. Let's do that. And then I'm like, for the next half hour, I have no idea what's going on. That doesn't matter. He doesn't care.
He doesn't know.
So, and the last one is like, be patient. And that one's hard for me, which is funny, because in classroom, I'm generally pretty patient. And it's a little bit different with your own kids. Like, there are points where, like,
you expect more, right?
Yeah, and it's like I don't want to be like overbearing. I don't want to be mean. I just think, like, you should know this. Like, it's different. Like, I don't want to yell at somebody else's kid, but it's easier to yell at mine. It's like how you're quicker to hit your friend than hit a stranger. Somebody says something stupid in a bar and it's your friend, it's nothing to give them a push or something. But when a stranger says, you're like, do I do that? Is this really a thing? But when it's your own kid, it's easier to, like, yell. For me, anyway, it's easier to have the urge to yell than it is in school, and I don't fully know why. And so I'm constantly reminding myself, like, take a deep breath. It's cool. if you have to tell them 3 times, it's better to tell them 3 times than tell them once and scream at them, because the screaming has a bad effect. Telling them 3 times doesn't hurt anybody but me, and I can deal with that, you know?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
So, you know, be there, be excited, be patient would probably be the 3 I would say.
Okay. I like that. That's cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Like I said, you're going to be good. You're going to be good. Keep the patient thing in mind.
Patience, no.
That'll be the hard one.
I think I learned patience, like, obviously it'd be different with kids, but I've learned, I didn't know what the true definition of patience was until the last 2 years of my boxing career. When I lost my last fight to where I'm at now, and always, you know, maybe you'll fight again. Maybe you'll fight this month. You'll fight this month, but then it gets canceled. You won't fight this month. Okay, hey, I'm going to train for this fight, but then, you know, or just whatever, just in everything. It's like, wow, like I really understood the true definition of patience. 2 years later, I still haven't fought.
Yeah, that's the, like there, it's like this ongoing sort of grind thing. The kid thing's a little tricky because you've got, like, you're going to be tired at certain points, and your girlfriend's going to be tired, and then all of a sudden she's going to be telling you to do something that you either already did or don't need to do. And then the trick is you're trying to, you know, be cool for the kid, and you got to turn around and be like, I got to be patient with you too, because I'm going to be right as often as I'm wrong. But when you're tired, or when you're focused on, say, taking care of something for your business, and then do something with the kid, and then she's saying this other thing, and you're like, you know, it's like I have to remind myself sometimes, the same way I try not to snap at the kids, I have to not snap at my wife. And not that I want to do it often, like we get along, like, oh, that's good, but when you're busy, everything else seems busy. And you got to remember, like, I have to remind myself that sometimes when the world's busy, it's only busy in my head, and not everybody else knows that it's busy in my head. So when I want to be like, hey, shut up, no, I already did that. Like, they don't know that. Like, they don't know that.
Be like water, my friend. Wusa. Be like water.
It's going to be okay, you know. And so, you know, for a lot of that stuff, like, so, all right, so this didn't come up earlier, but this is one of my favorite Eric Hernandez stories that I actually use in class.
Hey, I was going to ask you that earlier. What are the Eric Hernandez stories? Because
and it's so simple, but it's funny because when you were in high school, there was still the whole push for, like, no phones in class. Put your phone away, keep your phone in your locker, and, you know, and now it's like kids can have their phones or not. Now kids have laptops. They have a laptop on their desk. The county now gives everyone a Chromebook. Kids are sitting with a Chromebook on their desk. Wow. They have the whole internet right in front of them. Crazy. So I either have to be a hard ass and say put it away, or I have to go ahead and find a way to be more interesting than whatever game they just pulled up or whatever, you know. And so that's tricky. But and this is one that, like, now, you know, whatever, but because I was still a relatively new teacher, I don't remember which room it was, but in Heritage, and you were in, like, somewhere towards the back right corner, and we're talking about something.
100 halls.
Maybe, I don't remember, but
it was close to a stairway.
You were in, like, the back right corner. Yeah, I think so. And it was, like, near the window and stuff. And we're doing this thing, and I'm saying something, and, you know, somebody, like, calls something. I'm like, no, pay attention. And I'm like, what is this noise? Like, I've got 3/4 of the class doing what they're supposed to, and the other quarter is, I don't know what is going on, you know? And you're just, like, talking in Spanish in the back corner of the room, and I'm like, Eric, what are you doing? And you, like, all of a sudden you do this. You go, sit up and you go, oh, sorry, my grandma called. I gotta answer when grandma calls. And I said, what? And you, like, laughed. You said, hang on. At which point there was, like, that momentary, like, I'm gonna kill him because he's telling me to hang on. And then you went, hang on. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's grandma. I just gotta figure out what's going on. Just give me a second. And I'm like, you know, the appropriate thing would have just been to, like, not answer or say, excuse me, I need to step in the hall. But you answered that phone in the middle of, and, like, while I wanted to yell at you, all I was like, man, he's got, all right, hey, grandma. And I was like, yeah, that's what you were like, it's grandma. I was like, he's right, grandma called. I just remember, like, right before we hung up, I said, tell her I said hi.
Hey,
that was it.
Wow, I haven't thought about that in a long time.
But that's one, because it's one of those things that, like, that was the first time a kid ever, like, answered a phone and done something like that in class. It's something that has repeated itself since.
Has it?
And I've probably handled it better because of that.
Hey, that's hilarious, bro.
Yeah, like, there's a plenty, but that's the one that, like, anytime a kid, like, randomly is, like, all of a sudden on their phone in class, they're like, oh, can I take this? And if I'm like,
and this is back in 2009 too.
Yeah. And so, and again, and that's where it's like, it was a point at which kids were really not supposed to have their phones out. Like now, that's less of a big deal than it was then, at least from like a principal's point of view or whatever. That's probably the one that like I retell though, because it comes up and I'm like, one time I had this guy in the middle of class answers the phone, like everybody's laughing. I'm like, yeah, that was one of those times when I learned to be more patient.
Oh wow!
That's why I asked, did Grandma live with you? Because when she called, you were like, there was no. She
did live with me at that time.
You were already on the phone before I had ever noticed. I'm like, what's the noise? What's going on? And you're like, oh, hang on. Like,
hey, give me a second, man. Yeah. I'm on the phone with my grandma. Don't interrupt me.
Yeah. Not like an academic
I think she
moment.
had called me to ask me where I was at.
It was. Yeah.
I said, I'm in class.
And it was relatively quick. Like, it wasn't a big deal. But I just remember, like, that was so funny.
I'm in class. Oh, really? I'm like, yeah, I'm in class. You want something good?
I should not be on the phone right now.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's funny.
That was a good one. Probably that, and then that was the class where we did the Ali Raps movie. And I think, was Rayshawn in your class? He was in your class?
Rayshawn was in the class.
Was Alex in that class? He's the same year as you, right? Chicas.
No, he's not. He's a little older.
Was he older?
He's older.
Okay.
I think about like a year or two.
Okay, because I would say I thought that was the same year, maybe not, but it was you. There was someone else in that class, and I remember like that whole thing was like it was just like a tricky room. It's like lots of personality and lots of fun, not a ton of focus.
And Rayshawn was crazy duo.
And then it was like, but it was like we did like the Ali Raps thing. I remember we did like warm up things. Which I haven't done in years. Like I mentioned to kids, like we should do that. I'm like, I'm too old, you know. But like the warm up was like you had to freestyle battle. Somebody sitting next to you or pick a partner, and you had to do it. And I remember like you did one, and I don't remember what it was, but it had to do with boxing. And but there was like only maybe 60-70% of it rhymed. But it didn't, like, it had a rhythm, it had a flow to it. But I don't remember what it was, but, like, as you got to the end, there's, like, a bad word thrown in. But everyone was, like, laughing and clapping. And I just remember thinking, like, what do I do with that? It didn't really rhyme. And the end was inappropriate. But it felt good, and the class loved it. What do I do with that? You know?
Yeah, that sounds like ninth grade Eric.
And Rayshawn thought he was, like, the best rapper in the world. He was okay.
He was all right. He did.
That was a guy who had a way of promoting himself.
He really did.
You know?
He did drama. Awesome.
Everyone in the room thought he was the best rapper in the room, whether it was true or not. No.
He made us believe it.
That's right. It's not that you want to, when people say fake it till you make it, like, you don't want to be a liar, and sometimes it's good to just let people know you're figuring something out, like, that's okay, but there is a time when you just believe you are the thing, because that's how you become it, you know?
I think at that time, in ninth grade, Rayshawn thought he was the best at everything. May he rest in peace. Yeah. And I was undefeated in my amateur boxing career. I was going to nationals, so I thought I was that guy.
You remember seeing me in the airport?
Yeah, I do.
Was that year, the next year, or something like that?
It was that year because I was in the class that year.
Yeah.
And I was going to nationals.
Because that's the only time I ever met that trainer.
Yeah.
But my wife still like knows you because of that like quick meeting. But remember we were in like the zigzag, like the rope line to get in.
Like, hey,
so
man,
it was like, hey, what's going on? And like 3 minutes later, we're like passing in the line again, and it was this. So when I said, she asked like what I was going to do with these interviews and doing podcasts, and when I said you're one of a small handful of students that she like quote unquote knows, it was because she remembers that and the whole thing. But yeah, that was funny. Yeah, that was a good class.
There was a lot of personalities in that class.
I remember that we were going to like a friend's wedding, I think, and you were going to nationals in Colorado, maybe.
No, it was Missouri or Mississippi. Missouri,
somewhere
it was something. Yeah, it was something.
I remember I was like in line, like I'm so excited. We're going to. It was like the Dominican Republic for this friend's wedding. This is gonna be great. And then I was like, oh hey.
Hey, I'm like, hey, Mr. Dude, what's up, Vato? That's how I used to say Vato all the time.
Oh my God, that's right. That was like constant.
Yeah, like I would call you Vato. I wouldn't even call you Mr. Tibbens. Hey, yo, Vato. And be like, you just look over.
Yeah. But yeah, then like, crossing the line as we're like finally getting on plane, like separating through the security check. I was as excited for you to go box as I was to go chill on the beach. I was like, all right, yeah.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, I think it was Missouri, Mississippi, one of those. I don't remember. A long time ago. That's crazy, man.
You're old. You're so old.
I'm a big homie now, considered it something.
Yeah, right.
You know, a big bro now. I'm like, oh wow. If I'm old, man, it's crazy how time passes, man, for real. But like I said, man, for real, I think like it's crazy. Like through high school, you and Miss Cups made a huge impact in my life. Like for real. Like I mean, you know, in 9th grade with you, just made learning fun. You know, and understanding there was still rules, yet we could still get along. And I mean, we talked about Jay-Z all the time. Yeah, I remember always talking about Jay-Z. Hey, and you also told me that when you turned pro, I think I was like 14-0 at the time as an amateur. And you said and I would always talk about, you know, going pro and this, that. And you said, when you go pro, I will be there for your first pro fight. I will never forget that. You told me that. You said, hey, I will be there for your first pro fight. And, you know, 9th grade, oh, okay, cool. And then 10th, 11th, you go on through life. And then my first pro fight, who's there? You, Miss Cubs, Mrs. Good. I said, wow. I said, that's something I still talk about to this day. When we talk about this, when we talk about you, when I talk, like, my girlfriend, hey.
Well,
like, it's crazy, man.
It's exciting, though. It's you know, this is a place where, like, say, like, teaching in certain ways, maybe like I think our jobs are similar, you know, but like one that's different is there's a tendency to just like you teach kids and they graduate, whatever. And it's like if you want to do it well, you got to get to know people. And the reality is, you know, say you got 130 kids, you can't get to know all 130 kids well, but you try to get to know everybody a little bit. And then the people that, you know, it's like the squeaky, what is it? The squeaky wheel gets the grease or whatever. Like, but like the students who come around or hang around or whatever, like. You do that. You sort of make time for people and make sure you can have these sort of conversation stuff. But that's, you know, like you were great. Like I say, like, you know, you're not supposed to have favorite students. You're one of my favorite students.
My God.
But, you know, you also were not the greatest student. You weren't a bad student, but you weren't as good a student as you could have been.
Yeah, for sure.
But I also think that it'd be very easy for a teacher to hold that against them. Yeah. You know, and that's where I say, like earlier I said, you know, your job isn't to make somebody else into you, it's to help them be a better them. Yeah, so whether it worked or not, like, I appreciate that, you know, there was that influence. I know Ms. Cups was super important and all that, but, like, it's good, because that's the whole thing is, like, you find ways to, like, hopefully help some of those 130 kids to be better. Like, you know, you'd be crazy to think you're always going to get all of them all the time. But, you know, you want to get most of them most of the time. That's probably the way to go.
Oh, wow. Nah, I tell you, you're a patient, man. Oh, you are patient. Well, you were. But you were then, you know. I would assume now you are more patient.
Probably more so. Or I target it better.
I remember I used to swing by your class, and I would just kind of, like, even when I didn't have you, I would swing by your class. Like, Mr. Tibbens, can I get a pass? Like, I'm late to class. It's like 10 minutes in the class. What do you mean you're late to class? You haven't even showed up.
You didn't even try. That's like way late. I got a girl that does that now, who I've never taught.
Really?
Her freshman year, she had a crush on some guy in my class, and he used to hang out in the room during lunch. And so she would like always find a way to stop by during our lunch to see him, and he couldn't stand her. He's like, get out. He's a junior, she's a freshman. Yeah. It's like, get out of here, you know? And then eventually she took the hint, but she kept coming around. And then this year that guy was out of the school, like he went somewhere else, but she kept coming around. And so she'd come in 3 days a week, 4 days a week to either draw something weird on the board, tell me something personal about her that I really didn't want to know, or ask for a pass to class. And I'm like, there's no legitimate reason for you to ever be here. Like, I mean, you're great and all, but you're also terrible, and you don't need to be here. And it's one of those ones where, like, the more mean I am, the more she likes it. So I say something mean, and she comes back twice as often, so now I'm trying to be nice, and that's not working either. I'm like, I don't know. Like, she might be in my class next year. I'm like, I don't know what to do with that, because if she's already comfortable enough to show up and ask for the pass 10 minutes in, and she's not in my class, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. Yeah,
oh,
like,
man.
That's not good. It's, I'm a nice kid. Like, it's funny, but I'm like, you need to, I don't know, do something. Go to class, ask a different teacher. There's a part of this you're not figuring out. Like,
there's something going on, man. That's funny.
All right, so who should be next?
Who should be next?
People you know that I know or people you know that I don't know but that would be good, who should be next?
Wow. I wasn't prepared for that question.
I hadn't really thought of that one before.
That's a great question, man. So you're basically saying you use me for your podcast and we're not going to do this again?
No, I said if we do it again. That means it had to have gone okay. So when I see you, never. Like you said, you got
to be honest with you,
Matt and Diego. I don't know. I met Matt once for like Matthew. Sorry, but I met him literally for like 30 seconds one time. He was with you in passing. Like I don't know where it was. Like just
I think Heritage.
Maybe like
because he used to go to Heritage.
So I know I've met him. It was a long time ago, and I don't really know him. And then it was like some back and forth posts online, and he friended me. Yeah. So I'm now friends with him online. I see his picture of the kids.
That's why I told you, because of everything that you post. I told him, I said, because we have the same conversations, and I say, you want to read, you really want to get into this? I say, look, and I show him your page, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So now that's we're like friends on Facebook.
Yeah. So I know he.
I see pictures of the kids and stuff. I'm saying like he runs a business. He had a little trouble in school, right?
I think Matthew would definitely be Matthew and Diego would be great people for your next podcast. And that may be people say, oh, that's biased, but in all honesty, man, those are very, very smart guys, man. They've been through a lot of things in their life, a lot of experiences that I think would be helpful for the people that are listening, and people who may be going through the same things and not knowing where they are in life, and life's a journey, man. So. It's definitely. I know it's comforting to some people to understand that you're not the only one going through that. For anybody that's trying to become business owners or just trying to create their own image, their own personality. People that are still trying to find themselves. I mean, it's all a journey, man. You get trial and error. You got to try things and you got to fail. I think that's the biggest thing now. Is like they try to say that failing is not. It's not okay, but I think failing is great. I think you gotta fail at things, and you gotta learn from it, and keep it moving.
I don't remember if I had it when I taught you or not. I started probably right around then. I know I didn't have it the first couple years, but I call it the quote wall. So all around the board in the front of the room, I just have regular sheet of paper with like a little quote. Most of them deal with education, some are just funny, whatever, and they cover like the front of the room. And I call it the quote wall. And one of the reasons for it is people are like, I love quotes, that's great. I'm like, strategic. I can see who's not really paying attention, but who's still thinking, because I'm talking and they're looking, and then their eyes do this, and they scan the wall and they find a quote that's interesting, and they do this. I know you're not paying attention right now, but you're still thinking about something useful, right? So but there's one up there, and I forget who said it, but it says, failure is instructive. We learn quite a bit more from our failures than our successes. And I think that's really true. And not that you ever want to fail, but failing can be a real good thing if you respond well. Yeah. And so that's where it's also not interesting at all to have a conversation in which there is no conflict or adversity. You're like, so tell me about your life. And it's like, well, everything's just been good. Yeah. That's useless to everyone. That is boring. That is useless. There's nothing to learn here. And even the failure doesn't actually have to be a full-on failure. It just has to be acknowledging that things are hard. Yeah. And then what do? You
learn from it. I mean, I think even I think a lot of people could see the movie, the Rocky movie, when there was it's one of the last ones before Creed. It was the last one before Creed when he fought. I forgot.
Tommy. No. Before number.
It was
not Rocky.
It was the last one
of the new
Creed.
ones.
It was one of the new ones where he came back from retirement. He's 60 years old and he fought. I forgot who he was, but
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But he was, was talking to his son. He was saying, you're gonna get hit. Life is gonna hit you, and it's not about how hard you can get. It's about how much you can keep moving forward. I mean, as cheesy as that may have sounded, I mean, that's real, man. I mean, life. I mean, I think it's the biggest thing. Life isn't fair, man. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are. Things are gonna happen to you. You just gotta be able to roll with the punches, keep moving.
It's both good life advice and as far as movies go, it's one of the reasons that especially the first Rocky, but really all of them are among the best sports movies ever, is because they find ways to take things that are useful life lessons that are completely cheesy and make it feel less cheesy. I mean,
exactly.
Don't get me wrong, when he fights, Clubber Lang and it's Mr. T up there, it's a little cheesy, but Rocky 1 and Rocky 2 especially, if you pull just the one-liners out where you're that's the advice, that's the thing, and you didn't have the movie, you'd be like, yeah, that's true, but that's cheesy. And then you do the movie, and you're like, oh, that's great. That's awesome. That's great.
Real, man. Yeah.
Like, that's great. But yeah. I didn't even see the last one because they did. Was it like Balboa or something? It was something.
It was Rocky Balboa. I think that's the one where he comes out of retirement. He
right.
owns a restaurant. And he's older.
And then after that was Creed.
And then Creed 2.
Creed 2. Okay, so I didn't see Creed 2, and I don't know if I saw all of the first. I started it. I think that was.
You should definitely watch Creed. Creed's a good movie.
I think that was one that was like started and fell asleep, or a kid started crying or something. Man.
Yeah, no,
I don't think I ever finished that
movie.
I don't know what our sound quality is. You got a book or a movie you would recommend to people for entertainment, learning, anything, just for fun, or for learning, or for both, or neither?
Good question. I would say, the book that kind of changed my mindset on things as far as positivity and negativity and energy in the world is The Secret. When you really kind of just take what it is and understand, waking up, just being grateful, being blessed, envisioning what you want, and I think that's one of the books that changed, was a big pinnacle in my life that kind of catapulted where I'm at now. That helped me into opening my horizons as far as what I'm capable of doing. And that one, and I would say Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Okay, I've heard you mention that name before. I looked up a couple of the books. I haven't read any of them, but I've got one on my. I've got one that you recommended, like on like a wish list or a book list or something.
I think it was Outwitting the Devil.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a great book.
Outwitting the Devil.
Outwitting the Devil.
Nice.
Because it was written in, I forgot what year it was, but I think it was like.
Isn't it older? That's like, isn't he like book. He's like 30s, 40s, something like that? Like
Outwitting the Devil.
Yeah, well, I mean the author, like wasn't he writing like the 1930s, 1940s, something like that? Like
20s, 30s.
I would say I remember looking it up. I don't.
And he was talking about things that are real right now. That's going on now, and it's crazy. But no, I think Outwitting the Devil and The Secret. I would say those are two books that kind of made a big change in my life. Kind of changed my outlook. And honestly, even Siddhartha, even though it took me 3 tries to read it, I read it at the perfect time, kind of transitioning into finding who I am and going through different stages of my life and understanding that, you may have to take your journey, you may have to go somewhere else. Without that.
That's one I need to recommend, not less, but with better context. When people are like, I want a book, and you say, about what? And anytime somebody gives me like, life or learning or doing a thing, and I'm just like, oh, you should read Siddhartha. Like, yeah, you need to read this book.
You told me Siddhartha, I went and bought it that same day. It came in the mail, and then I said, I read like the first few pages, it intrigued me. I was like, okay.
And you were like, what the hell is this?
I said, what is this, man? I said, oh man. I said, no, I put it away. Tried it again.
My niece did the same thing. She was having like some trouble in school, like brilliant kid, she had great grades, just didn't want to be in school anymore and all this.
Yeah.
And she was asking about books, and it was like right before birthday or Christmas or something. And so I bought it for her, and I put a $10 bill in as the bookmark. And I told her when she finished it, if she wanted to talk about it, there'd be another $20 bill to back it up. And she's like, I started it, but it was weird, so I quit. And I was like, that's fine. If you ever want to read it, just let me know. We'll talk about it. It'll be great. And I owe you $20. And she's like, what? And I was like, that's the second half of your gift. I was like, I'm not shortchanging you here. The first half is the gift, and the second half you earn it. And eventually she read it, and we talked about it. She's like, yeah. She's like, I get it. I don't know. And I was like, nah. I probably, because she was like 17. And I was like, you probably weren't in the right place for me to do that. That was a book that like, it was one of those times like, I always think that the way you can tell a great idea is that when someone else tells you the idea and you go, oh, wait a minute, I knew that. Or like, oh, I should have known that. Like, when someone else tells you something and you're like, it's so painfully obvious, how did I not know it? Like, that's the sign of brilliance. Yeah. Because no one argues. Everyone goes, oh, yeah. And I said, did you think about that before? And you go, no. That. And so when I read that book, for me, I was like, oh, yeah, I've been thinking a bunch of these things and never found a way to say it. And not that, going through a guy's entire life in India, it's written by a German guy too, which makes it even trickier. Like, the whole thing's sort of weird. But like, I finished it, I was like, that was saying the thing that I was trying to figure out that I already, you know.
Yeah.
And so, but then like that's when I'm very quick to recommend.
It's one of those books. Once you get closer to the end, you start realizing
it all does sort of this, but yeah.
Because I remember being like more than halfway through and like, okay, what is the point of this book? I'm so like,
just this guy doing stuff.
Do I have to read this again? Like I'm like, what did I miss? And then once I got to the end, I said, oh wow, okay.
I was one a few years ago. I had a bunch of TAs, and at the end of the year, I gave everybody like a book. And I did that. I gave that to half of them, and in it, I wrote a little note, and I was like, "You're probably never going to read this, and if you do, you're probably not going to finish it or enjoy it for a few more years. But there will come a time when you will be glad that somebody else saw that you find happiness in different ways, or something like that."
Yeah.
And only one of them has ever like, "Hey, I read that book." And I'm like, "Cool," and the other ones, I'm like, maybe it ended up in a yard sale, and that's okay. But I still hold out hope that a couple of kids are going to read it. Because eventually,
reading that book, I read it at the right I read it at the right time.
But it's not a beach read.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I think I took it with me to Cancun. I went to Cancun, my girlfriend. Yeah. And I took it, and I was trying to read that. And I'm in Cancun, so I got a little tequila, a little.
Yeah, right.
And I'm trying to read it, and I'm looking at it like, oh man. Yeah, nah. I'm like, I'm just
all these like Indian names. I don't know what to do with this.
I'm like,
wrong setting. All right, I'm gonna close it. You got anything else you want to yell, shout out, say? Anything I didn't ask that you want to say?
I don't think so.
No pressure.
No pressure.
All right.
I think. Man, good to go. Boom, boom, boom.
All right.
Nah, we good to go, man.